everyone. Dave Dubeau here with another episode of the Property Profits Real Estate Podcast. Today, zooming in from one of my favorite cities in all of the US of A, San Diego, California. We've got Mr. Joe Mendoza. Joe, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, Dave. How are you?
I'm great, man. I mean, it just seems like we're connecting left, right, and center. I had the pleasure of being interviewed on your podcast the other day. Here you are on mine. It's a thing of beauty. So thank you so much. And Joe, you've been in the real estate game for a couple of decades now. You wouldn't know it for looking at you. Young looking guy, you son of a gun, I tell you. But you've got a lot of experience as a realtor, as an active real estate investor yourself, as someone who helps other real estate investors and agents grow their businesses. Very briefly, what sparked your interest about real estate in the first place?
Wow. So that's a great question. My dad was actually the one who planted a seed about getting rich, and I had no clue how. And then one day, one of my uncles, I was over at his house and he goes, "Hey, I have a couple of tickets to this real estate seminar. A lot of people get rich in real estate." And I said, "Sure, why not?" I was only about 17 years old at the time.
Nice. Which one? Which seminar did you see back in the day?
It was Robert Allen. He was on tour doing a lot of his Nothing Down for the 90s, and I saw him live.
Very cool. Bob Allen. Yeah, that's back in the day, that's for sure. Awesome. So Joe, you got inspired, you got the spark. What kind of things have you focused on over the years as an active real estate investor? I understand that you're a realtor as well, but as far as your own portfolio, what kind of floats your boat in real estate investing?
In the beginning, it was a lot of single family.
Yeah.
I focused primarily on these buy and hold single families. Then as I started to progress, I learned about syndications, condo conversions, multifamily. So definitely bigger for me is better at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense. Seems to be the progress a lot of people go through, myself included, that's for sure. So Joe, we were talking a little bit off camera about the importance of mindset in this whole, in any business, but especially in real estate investing, especially as a realtor. It's easy to get burnt out because you are literally burning the candle at both ends sometimes, like you're so immersed in real estate 24/7. What are some tips or ideas or things that you've learned over the years as far as mindset goes for success?
That's a great question, Dave. So for sure, clarity is power.
Okay.
You clearly got to define your why, whether it be being a realtor or investor, because there's days when you don't want to do it. You don't want to push harder. You don't want to do that extra mailer. And if you look at your whys and turn it back into why am I doing this, that's exactly when you're going to push a lot harder.
Well, most people say, why do I want to do real estate investing? Because I want to make $1 million or $2 million or $10 million. Is that a good enough why?
No.
Okay. Yeah. So for folks that are kind of at that superficial level, how do they dig deeper and find out what the real why is?
That's a great question. So I would say, look at people you care about. Look at maybe helping others. Take the eyes off of yourself and think about what they want. How could you help them? How could you make a difference in them? And you'll definitely survive longer in real estate.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I mean, I'm sure you've coached and trained a lot of people over the years about this. What's an example of somebody's why that just kind of really resonated with you, or that you found was a really powerful one that actually helped them surpass some of the obstacles? Do you remember any?
Absolutely. So there was this amazing young woman that I was coaching in the Pacific Northwest area. Now, she was actually making pretty darn good money as we started. Mm-hmm. And she felt a void, and I could tell because every time she would come to coaching, she was pretty negative. Okay. And I was trying to figure out what's going on, and I saw that she was just simply going through the motions. Then I asked her, take it back to when you were a younger child, maybe a teenager. What did you do that was fun? What are you not doing now? And she said, riding horses. And I was like, well, when was the last time you did it? it's been decades. And I said, well, why don't we set up these goals? And then when we achieve them, why don't you go ahead and buy yourself a horse? And so she did.
Wow.
She hit those goals. She bought a horse, and horses are not cheap.
No,
And
definitely not.
she's buying her second horse, and her second horse now is about $300,000.
Wow. Yeah, and that, I mean, that's just the cost of the horse. There's all, unless she's got a big ranch somewhere, she's got to board the horse, feed the horse, train the horse. It's a very expensive thing. But that really sparked her. That gave her
No
that
doubt.
connection with her passion, and it's an expensive passion. So that really motivated her to keep her rolling.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
an excellent example. I love that one.
Thank you.
All right. So, okay, mindset wise, so really dig into your why, develop that why, look at other people and how you can help them, or dig into. It's not so much the money; it's what does the money do for you? What is that going to allow you to do, and with whom and where, and all that kind of good stuff.
Exactly.
What else do you find is really important when it comes to getting our mindset right?
There's this drunk monkey, this little voice from the time you wake up, even subconsciously when you're sleeping, and all throughout the day. We call it the drunk monkey. A lot of realtors heard this term and started using it. Basically, this drunk monkey is, imagine a monkey in your head, drunk, just bouncing all over the place, going nuts. Well, that's that little voice, which is sometimes the anchor holding you back. And one of the things that I talked about in one of my other books, Make It a Comeback, is the rubber band technique. And it's very, very simple, Dave. So if somebody's watching on YouTube, here's a rubber band technique. You simply get a rubber band, you put it on your wrist, and anytime you hear that drunk monkey, that negative voice in your head, that little voice saying, hey, don't do it, be safe, be afraid, and all this anchors holding you back, what do? You pull the rubber band on your wrist and you go pop as hard as possible.
Ouch.
We call that a pattern interrupt, because the more you interrupt that pattern, the more you're going to be like, ouch, I'm not going to do that. And then you say your affirmations or your incantations, and that'll turn yourself around.
That's a fascinating idea. Hold that thought for a second. Hi there, this is Dave Dubeau, and real estate investors hire me to raise capital the right way. Why? Because most of them are stuck with too small of a portfolio, and they don't know how to attract investors and raise money for their deals. So I help them to connect, capture, and close their ideal money partners. Bottom line, when you've got a deal, you're going to have the capital to do it. So go ahead and book a no-cost capital clarity session with me at bookachatwithdave.com. Again, that's bookachatwithdave.com. Very, very cool. So you talked a little bit about one of your books. You've got a couple of books that you've published. I think the first one is called Flex with a Plex. That sounds fun. I imagine you're talking about duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, that sort of thing. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct.
All right. And the other one that you just mentioned recently is, sorry, I lost it. Yeah, Make It a Comeback.
Correct.
So what caused you to write Make It a Comeback? That sounds like that's a good title. I like that one.
Thank you. So during COVID, when it first happened early in March, I got scared, just like many people out there, because I've been in real estate, as you mentioned, a couple of decades. And in 2008, I had one of the roughest rides of my life. And I thought, you know what better way to help people to make a contribution? What are some different hacks that help me get out of my funk? Because quite frankly, that run of 2008 to 2010-ish, or even 11 even, I was going through depression. I was having some crazy thoughts. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Let me help some people, because I guarantee you that some people out there might be going through what I was going through. And sure enough, there was a lot of people that did. And so I said, you know what? There's this book in my head. Let me just throw it out there, finish it up. Done is better than perfect. And I actually finished both books almost simultaneously within less than 3 months.
Oh, good for you, man. So tell me a little bit about about the whole make it a comeback? What's one of the points that you have in that book that we can talk about briefly that'll have some impact for people if they're going
Yeah,
through
there's
that?
actually a lot of different techniques. One of them I did mention the rubber band technique. The other one is about running your gratitudes.
Okay.
Every day you should be starting off with your gratitudes, because it's one of these things that I was taught that, I hit this pinnacle. Wherever you are, you probably hit that pinnacle too. And then you kind of flatline. And so it's one of those things that, like, if you're not grateful for what you already have, how can you get more and be grateful for what you're going to get next? So, like, appreciate every single thing that you have, from being alive, from having your sight, from having your hearing, from having your roof over your head, from having a significant other, your kids, your dogs, your cats, your et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even those little things, because if you're just constantly chasing things and those superficial things and not appreciating what you already have, when you get there, you're going to have like this emptiness of like, what's next? What next? It's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses.
That's a good point. That brings something to mind for me, Joe. I was just recently visiting an elderly relative of mine who's unfortunately pretty ill. Hopefully not, but perhaps towards the end of his life. And that's what really kind of comes home to me. It's like, at the end of the day, what are we going to be looking back at? What's really important? What is it that really matters? Is it how many hours we punch the clock in the office? Is it how many doors we have in the portfolio? Is it this, or is it the quality of life that we've had during it? Is the experience we've had, the relationships that we've had, the benefit that we've brought to other people? I think that's what really matters. I think when we're all on our way out, that's what we're going to be focusing on more.
That's right, Dave.
Yeah, good points. All right, so Flex with a Plex. Tell me a little bit about that book, because both of these came out fairly recently, and I'm sure people can find them on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely. So Flex with a Plex, as long as the other book, you could probably read it in 2 hours or less.
Oh, nice. I like those kind of books. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I noticed you got a purple book behind your Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's a quick read too. It did pretty well.
Yeah, no doubt. Unfortunately, I didn't write that one. I wish I did.
Yeah, me too. Then.
So Flex with a Plex is simply how you can start wherever you are with even a single family, do what they call a house hack, where like you live in one of the rooms, you rent out the other rooms, and then you kind of go from there, buying a duplex, a triplex, all the way to multifamily and on. And I basically taught some of the different concepts of investing, what you should be looking out for as you start to get into the bigger arena of multifamily and commercial real estate, and even down to the bottom where you're just starting out, where you should do a house hack. And I kind of walk through the gamut, kind of a quick gloss overview. So for somebody who doesn't really understand investing, somebody just kind of starting out, there's a lot of different things where I shared there.
It sounds wonderful. It sounds like you've got some great tips and ideas there. So, Joe, as we're wrapping up the interview, because time flies when we're having fun, that's for sure. You've been in the business for a couple of decades now. What would you say is some of the keys that you've had for longevity in real estate and investing? What would you say have been some of the keys to your success?
Number one, continue to learn. Never, ever, ever stop learning. It never ends.
Yeah.
Number two, surround yourself with such amazing, influential, positive people. Number three, think about others. Think about ways that you could help others, whatever way it can be, because the more you contribute, the law of the universe or whatever you believe in, it reciprocates tenfold.
Beautiful. Very, very well said. Well, that's a beautiful place to wrap things up. If people want to find out more about you, Mr. Joe Mendoza, your books, your podcasts, all the great stuff that you're up to, where can they go?
Please go to realestaterawshow.com. You can find it on podcasts. You could find it on YouTube. You could also go to joemendoza.com or coachjoemendoza.com.
Very good. We'll put all of those in the show notes. And Joe, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. Thank you so much for some of your insights. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave, so much for the opportunity. Totally appreciate you.
All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you on the next episode. Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into the Property Profits podcast. If you like this episode, that's great. Please go ahead and subscribe on iTunes. Give us a good review. That'd be awesome. I appreciate that. And if you're looking to attract investors and raise capital for your deals, then I'm going to invite you to get a complimentary copy of my newest book, right back there. There it is. The Money Partner Formula. You can get a PDF version at investorattractionbook.com. Again, investorattractionbook.com. Take care.